What is up, Insaners? And welcome to the Game Week 12 deadline stream, guys. How are you guys doing? We are back. Football is back. It's been a couple of weeks. The international break is now over, and Premier League is back. It's gonna be a hectic time. I think around 10 odd games in the next 40 days. So there's gonna be a lot of football. So let's hope we don't get caught out. Welcome to all of you who've joined the stream today. It's going to be another regular stream, another deadline stream where a lot of questions have kind of come up, a lot of things to discuss. We've also kind of broken down different topics. So make sure that you stay till the end. You stay till the entire time. You can also have any kind of suggestions, any kind of queries, anything that you want to put in the chat. Please feel free to do that as well. And very important, if you've not subscribed to the channel, if you not like the stream, make sure that you do that, guys. It really helps us reach as many people as we can on YouTube, and it really helps us with the algorithm as well. And I really appreciate your support. We've been inching slowly towards the 1,000 subscribers mark, and I really hope that we get that soon. In case if you want to support us, you can please do that by subscribing to the channel. In general, I think this is going to be another really interesting stream. I think there's a lot to talk about in terms of Kane, Son, the comparisons, what's happening with Jota. There's so much happening, right? A lot of injury stuff has kind of come up in the past few hours, in the last 24 hours, I would say. So we'll also kind of discuss in terms of what we should do, what kind of players to go for, what kind of players to avoid as well. So please, feel free to add anything in the comments, anything that you know, right? If in case if you want to share anything with our fellow managers as well, I think that'll also be really helpful. And so we'll generally take comments. We'll generally take, if you want to share your teams as well, I think that's also a good way to start, a conversation on the channel. So I think that also will be very helpful for you as well as for the other people on the channel, right? We'll start with the comments, and then we'll just deep dive into different topics as we go along. Hey Akshay, hi, welcome to the stream. I hope you're ready for Game Week 12. Hey Brian, welcome to you as well. Thank you so much for joining us for today's stream. Stephen, you're saying thank God the international break is over. I'm so happy. I was missing football so much. I was trying to watch older videos, past game weeks. I was trying to see what kind of matches, any kind of highlights that I can see. I was that, I don't know if I was that bored, but I was really, missing football. And yes, international games they were there, but they're generally not that fun, if you know what I mean, right? No disrespect to any teams or any footballers who play in them. Of course, they also play for our beloved clubs. But I think really miss football. So you've shared your team, Stephen, and we'll go through it. So you have Saab, you have Trent, you have Chilwell, Libramento, you have Salah as captain. Then you have Rafinha, Gallagher, Buemo, Jimenez, Vardy, Kane. In the bench, you have Duffy, Brownhill, Tierney. I think it's a pretty solid team. I really like. There's a lot of money invested in your attack, to be very honest. So you have Jimenez, who's again not a cheap striker. You have Vardy, who's of course who's expensive, who a lot of people are kind of transferring out, and I'll kind of cover that part as well. Kane is I think a decent shout. Again, I've also mentioned this on the Instagram handle that we have, and there were some updates from me from there as well. So in case if you want to check that as well, you can go through that. Come back on the stream, and you can join us again. Decent team, I think. No really worries, to be very honest. Rafinha is someone that I'm not 100% confident on in terms of whether how he's going to do, because I think Conte is a very tactical manager, right? And he would generally have some kind of a game plan to stop Rafinha, because Leeds, I think if Rafinha is not on song, or if Rafinha is not playing well, right now at the moment they look a bit shaky, right? Yes, we know that they have defensive worries, they have defensive problems, but even in attack, when they don't have Bamford, and so there's so much attacking, pressure, attacking responsibility on Rafinha, and if that outlet kind of shuts out, I think Leeds are really going to struggle. So I think that's the only kind of worry I have in terms of playing 11, for example, because I don't have Rafinha in my playing 11. He's on my first bench or as my first sub, but I'm not playing him. Overall a pretty decent team. I think I really like it. Shan, hi, welcome to the stream as well. Really glad that you can join us. Sago, you're saying that should I bring in Foden or not, as he's a doubt for the game against Everton, or should I just keep Havertz? I think that's a very good question, and thank you for that, because I think this will also kind of focus on certain elements of the game, of the strategy part of the FPL game this particular week, because I know a lot of people don't have the likes of Jota, for example. They don't have Foden. They don't even have Son, right? I luckily had Foden a couple of weeks back, so that really helped me in a way, possibly to kind of not think about Foden as a transfer. But I think Foden is, yes, he's an injury out. Yes, he's carrying a knock. There are other problems with Man City as well. Kevin De Bruyne is tested positive for COVID, so we don't really know the timeline of that. Grealish is, of course, not ready for this particular week. Then we also have injuries to Ferran Torres in attack. So I think there are a few players who are injured. So even if there's a slight chance that Foden is okay and he's okay to play this particular game, I think Pep is going to play. I know the Champions League game could be a worry for a lot of people. I think he might be rested as well. But I personally feel that if there's a slight chance that he plays, I think he's okay. But in case now, if you don't have Foden and if you're kind of battling with your head in terms of whether to bring him in this particular week, I think there's a good merit, there's a good chance that you can save that particular transfer for this particular week. So what I mean by that is that you don't get Foden for this week because he's not a sell for sure. He's not a buy for this week. And I've seen a lot of people benching him as well, right? Because I don't understand if you have a Man City attacker against a weak Everton team. I know that there's a slight injury doubt. There is a chance that he gets benched or he might not even feature in that game. But if you have him in your team, I think there's a really, really good chance that you play him. If in case he's injured, I think Pep in that case is not gonna take a chance with him. So he definitely gets rested. And in any case, if he's getting rested and you have him in your 11, he will be substituted for another bench player of yours, right? So I think don't bring him in this particular week. Probably next week or in the coming weeks because the fixtures for Man City are really good, right? The whole Christmas period is really good for Man City. They're really good from an attacking perspective as well. So I think it's a transfer probably a couple of weeks down the line, but not right now because of the injury flag that he has. And I think coming to the other point that you were mentioning here, right? Havertz for this particular week looks pretty good because Lukaku is definitely out. He's not going to play. Now, Werner was seen back in training. There's a good chance that Werner starts this game, but I still feel, Havertz at least starts this game. I'm not really sure about his position in terms of where he's going to play on the pitch, but I generally feel that Havertz will be starting this particular game, and I think it's a decent fixture. Leicester's defense has not been that great. I know Leicester is still a good team. It's still a top team, but I think there's still a lot of merit in going for their attack rather than defense, and I think Chelsea could take advantage of that weak defense. So I think decent merit in not getting Foden and playing Havertz this particular week. Nigel, hi, and thank you for your team. You've shared your team, so we'll go through it again. So you have Foster in goalkeeper, which is okay, which is absolutely fine. Defense, you have Trent, White, Livramento, which is again okay. White, again, a bit tricky because he's playing Liverpool, so that's going to be a tough game. In midfield, you have Gray, Salah, Sarr, Buemo. Forwards, you have Tony, Ronaldo, Antonio. Subs, you have Sanchez, Janssen, Alan, Alonso. You have 2.8 million in the bank, and you have a wild card as well. I think it's a decent. Again, I'm not sure what's your strategy for the wild card. So, in case if you want to share that as well, I think that'll be really helpful to have this conversation. But I think in general, if you want to do a transfer, I think Alonso is a tricky one because he's worth a lot of money. He's definitely not playing games. So I think if I have to make a transfer, there are a few things that I would want to change in this team. Like I would probably not want to keep White. I would probably not want to keep Gray as well. I think those are, and probably even Sarr as well, right? Sarr for this particular week, I know I'm wearing a Manchester United jersey, but I know what the reality is for Man United in terms of how we are playing, in terms of how we are defending. So it could still be a decent game for Sarr, but I generally feel, I think Gray and Sarr, I think they are the players that I would probably want to replace. Of course, keepers are not an issue for you because Sanchez will return, so I think he's okay. And that Alonso pick is also a bit difficult, right? I think there's a good chance that you can use the wildcard in this particular week. I know that you're saying that you're not sure in terms of when do you want to use it, but I think there's a good chance that you use the wildcard for this particular week because you can easily get the likes of a Kane, for example, or you can even keep Ronaldo. You can probably have Son in your team if you do some downgrades. You can get rid of Alonso. You can have James. I think that's also a pretty decent move. So I can see 3-4 transfers easily in your squad, and I think if there's no better time to play it probably. I still feel there's a good chance that you can get hold of Tottenham players. You can even get hold of Jota, right? I think Gray for Jota is also a good move. Alonso for Cancelo. Again, if you have to make one transfer, I'll probably make the Gray to Jota move because I really don't trust Gray, to be very honest. I think Alonso, again, it's not ideal, But having Jota is an attacker. He's definitely going to play this week, maybe even for the next couple of weeks, especially with the AFCON also coming up when Salah and Mane would be going away. I think that really merits his position. I know a lot of people are kind of struck back in terms of, yes, Firmino's returning back, so he might not get game time. But they are also forgetting that AFCON is coming up and Salah and Mane are not going to be there, right? And he has to, Klopp has to play Jota, and I think it's a really good transfer to make. It's an attacking change, of course. Cancelo is also a decent one, but I think I would go, for Jota for this particular week. I still feel that you can still play the wild card, and there are a few things that you can change in your team because Janssen, Allen, Alonso. I think the bench could be improved. You can take away some money from the bench. You can take away some money from Alonso. You can have a better starter in your team. I think that will be really good. Azhar, hi boss. Thank you so much. Hi to you as well. I really hope you enjoy the stream today. Shreyash, you're saying, should I risk buying Foden? As I said to earlier as well to Sago, that probably Foden this week is a bit tricky. If I really want to make a transfer, I'll probably prioritize a Son or maybe even a Jota, for example, in case if you don't have these options. In case if you have them, then probably again don't do a transfer or do it somewhere else. I think Foden is a bit tricky. You don't get him in your team this week. You don't take him out for sure because it's a knock. I think he's gonna be fine. And of course, you don't even bench him. I think it's that kind of a weird scenario with Foden where you don't know what to do. But I think you should probably not bring him in this particular week. Shayan, Foden might not play this week. Absolutely fair point. There's a good chance that he doesn't play, but again, if you have him in your team, definitely put him there and and see what happens. Because at least for me, I think I have a very very good bench. I think it's just too much money on the bench right now. Not very happy about it. Really scared about having Rafinha and Vardy on the bench, but I think it's fine. I think we'll go ahead with that. Not a problem. Brian, you're saying, would you prioritize Son or Jota as a transfer in, and what are your thoughts on Son, Jota, Kane in general? I think a really good point, and I think this is one problem or one worry or one issue that a lot of managers are facing, one conundrum that a lot of people are facing this particular week. Now, earlier, I think when I didn't hear the Firmino news in terms of whether he's gonna come, so that they were kind of, I won't say rumors, but there were some murmurs and there were some conversations around Firmino that he's probably gonna return around mid-December. Again, there was nothing official about it, but there was a lot of conversation around it. Now, I think Klopp in his last press conference, he mentioned that he could be back earlier. He could be back in a couple of games, maybe, right? And I think for me, I would still want to see Son for 1 week. I've seen Jota, I've seen his numbers. Yes, I also owned him for a particular point of time, and I was a very frustrating owner, to be very honest. I won't lie. It was very, very frustrating owning Jota because he was creating chances. He had big chances as well. He couldn't convert those chances. Mane also fluffed his lines a couple of times, and we could have gotten a lot more FPL points. So that's why I think a lot of people were kind of off from Jota. Now with the whole Firmino injury, I think it's kind of come back. So I would probably still kind of prioritize Jota over Son. I still feel with Son and Kane, you have two options. Of course, you can go either way, and I don't think so. Either option is a bad option, right? You can go for Kane as well. I think he's done really well in the international break. I think he scored 7 goals in 2 games. So that's a pretty good number. But I think of course the teams are also weaker. The opposition was weaker. So you can only draw a certain conclusion or a certain point from the international break and those games. I still feel there's a lot more confidence in Kane for this particular period. I think he's looking a lot better. I know we've not had a lot of data or we've not had a big sample size in terms of how Conte has played with Tottenham. I think it's only been a couple of games, right? So there's a lot of conversation that by Kane, by Son, by this player from Tottenham, nobody knows, right? I'm also telling you a narrative. I'm also kind of making you probably talking to you about a narrative where we think that Tottenham could do really well. And of course, Conte is a world-class manager, so we are all assuming that might happen, but nobody knows what's going to happen, right? So in general, I think Kane, Son both are good moves. Yes, I still prefer Kane slightly more than Son because what I've seen in the last couple of games from Tottenham, Son is getting subbed off. He's also kind of moved around all over the pitch, and we still don't know how Conte is going to use Son, right? Whether he's going to use him as a runner, whether he's going to make him hold up play. Generally, that doesn't happen with Son because Son is a runner, right? So he would try to run the channels. He would try to run beyond the defense. And I think that's how Conte is going to use him. He can still be an out of position striker at a slightly cheaper value than Kane. And I think that could really represent a lot of value, considering that you can use that fund or that particular amount somewhere else in your team, right? But having said that, Kane would be on penalties. Kane's looking a lot better. He's looking a lot more confident. And Conte generally thrives and makes the forwards play a lot better, right? Whether it's Lukaku, whether it's Carlos Tevez, for example, or anyone else for that matter, I think the forwards have done really well under Conte. They score a lot of goals. So I think from that perspective, I would really want to go for Kane. He's also a really good captaincy option because I know a lot of people, would go for Son. They would have Son in their teams or already have him, but not a lot of people would be captaining him week in week out, right? But when we talk about Kane, I think the conversation changes. It's just some added, confidence that kind of Kane gives us in terms of captaincy as well. And if you want to go against Salah or go a bit differential, I think Kane is also a really good differential captaincy option. So I think, having said that, I still believe that Kane is slightly better. Though I'm not saying just go ahead and buy Kane, destroy your entire team. Please don't do that. Whatever your team allows you to do, right, without changing the entire structure, without taking hits, because I still feel it's not worth taking a hit. I know a lot of people are saying that take a -4, it's fine. If it's a move that includes Son or maybe Jota, maybe a couple of these players, maybe even a Foden, for example, right? I know not a lot of people would be buying Foden for this particular week. But in case if we have these kind of players and then you take a hit, it's still okay. But in general, I don't think so it's worth taking a hit for. So, go for the one who suits your team, who suits your particular template, and just don't destroy your entire team to get one Tottenham player, right? So yeah, so I think Kane for me slightly right now, but it could be Son as well. It could be a double up as well in the coming weeks. We'll take up the next one. You have two free transfers, and you're looking to move out Aubameyang, maybe Havertz or Rafinha. So you have three options that you can move out, and you have two transfers. Who would you bring out for Vardy, Jesus, or which midfielder for Havertz or Rafinha? I think Rafinha, Havertz again. If you can adjust the funds, Jota is a really good option. I think he's gonna be playing a lot more games for Liverpool in the coming weeks. It's a busy time. I think I know that he's gotten a couple of injuries and a couple of knocks in the past, but I don't think so he would be getting injured a lot. In general, I don't think so that'll happen. Again, could happen, but I still feel that he's a really good option. So if you wanna get rid of a Havertz or a Rafinha and you have that much funds, you can go for Jota. I think Havertz to Jota would be a lot easier. In case if you have some additional money or if you want to downgrade a striker, for example, you can probably downgrade a Vardy to a Tony or maybe an Armstrong as well, or maybe a Jesus as well, for example. And you could go for or if you already have Vardy or Jesus, you can probably again go for some cheaper options like a Wang, who's a decent option for the next 2-3 weeks, and then you can upgrade to a Son as well, right? So there are two ways to look at it. I still feel Vardy to Kane is a good move if you can afford it in a single move, and probably downgrade. Again, Havertz to Jota is not a downgrade, to be honest. In case if you're falling short of funds when you're getting Kane for Vardy, for example, then you can probably downgrade a Rafinha to a Gallagher, maybe even a Buemo is still not a really bad pick, right? I know not a lot of people have faith in the Brentford attack right now, but I still feel Buemo could be okay for the upcoming game weeks. He's still a very cheap option. In case if you are looking at other alternatives, you can probably go for Emil Smith Rowe as well. So that's also an option. I know fixtures are a bit tricky, but again, fixtures like Everton, fixtures like United right now are not that difficult to be. I know that they sound like difficult teams, but it might not be that crazy to kind of go for him now. Rohit Dubey, you're saying looking to strengthen my squad. What do you think? Cancelo, James, Reguilon, Libramento, Salah, Son, Gallagher, Jota, Ronaldo, Wilson, McCarthy. I think it's a decent team. I don't know if you're looking to make a transfer or not, but I really like the team. I think it's a good squad. You have Ronaldo, so that also, if you have money, that also allows you to go to Kane, for example. If you want to go there, you already have Son and Jota, plus you have Salah and Gallagher. I think it's a pretty good team. Wilson is also a great differential. I think I really like your team, to be very honest. I think there are a couple of players that I would really want for my team. Not able to get them right now for this particular week, and I don't want to take a hit. I'm generally not a manager. At least this year, I've kind of understood that hits more often than not they don't really work, right? So might as well wait for a week, get some more data, get some more insights, and then kind of move towards players. Are you looking to downgrade some of your bench options and upgrade starting 11? Yeah, Stephen, it's been a couple of weeks. I think game week 7 was when I used my wildcard. And I think this is a very important point in terms of benching. And I think not a lot of people, give this point its due attention. But I think benching headache is, of course, one thing. You don't know what kind of players to go for week on week. A lot of times, what happens last week, I'll tell you what happened. We had Gallagher in our team. He really did well. We missed out on those points, and then the players that we played instead of him, I think Buemo was in place of him, and he blanked, right? So yes, more often than not, there will be benching headaches. More often than not, we'll also get it wrong because you really don't know. You can assume, or you can make your assumptions, make your pointers in your head that this particular player is going to do well, but it might just go totally wrong, right? So I am looking to, loosen up my bench a little bit. Right now, let's say if I have to bench, if I have to play a 3-4-3, for example, or maybe a 4-4-2, for example. So I would have the likes of Tony on my bench, let's say. I would have a Semedo on my bench. I would have Buemo or Rafinha or maybe a Gallagher on my bench, right? These would be my benching options more often than not. I don't think so I'll be benching the other defenders, maybe even Livramento, right? So Livramento is a decent pick. I don't think so he's worth selling any. And I've had him for a very, very long time. He's been doing really well for our team. So I think that's really good. Uh, I would probably try to downgrade Semedo because I'm not really happy with the transfer. I don't think so. It's been a great move. There was a lot of talk about Semedo's underlying stats and Wolves' attacking numbers in the first few games, but I don't think so. It's turned out the right way. So I would definitely want to downgrade a Semedo. I can down. So one option is to downgrade him. The other option is to get a Spurs wing back. I think that also is a decent move. I know I'm not downgrading to a cheaper option, but I think in general it'll be a very attacking change because then I can even play a back five at a point of time. I know it sounds weird to play a back five in FPL when you have all these attackers, you have all these midfielders, but I still feel how things are going for this particular year. There's still merit in playing more defenders at the back. But yeah, in general, I think I would probably not want to keep too much money on my bench. I would at least want to have players who are regular starters in their respective teams. I think that's a really important point. We don't need to have an expensive bench over this Christmas period because there will be rotation. In a couple of weeks, don't be surprised if a couple of your main starters are not starting games because they would need rest because there's so many games in the next month or so that it's impossible for all your players to play all the games, right? So have players who can give you 90 minutes, even if they are not very high scoring players, is absolutely fine. And rather than that, invest that money in your playing 11, and I think that will be a really good move. Mohammed, you're saying will Aston Villa improve defensively under Gerard? As far as whatever I have seen from Gerard and his playing style, I think he's also a very attacking manager. I think in terms of attack, Villa is definitely going to improve. I think there will be a lot of options in terms of fantasy, in terms of FPL. We could see the likes of Leon Bailey, even Bundia, for example, coming back into form. Bundia has been a kind of a miss so far, from what he was doing at Norwich, right? So I think Villa will definitely improve offensively. Gerard, in terms of being a defensive manager, I'm not really sure there, but I still feel Villa's defense is going to be slightly better. Again, whether it's gonna really improve a lot, I'm not really sure right now. We'll probably have to see a couple of games, but I generally feel Villa as an attacking team will definitely improve. I think under Gerard it could be a different story altogether. The defense also might not be that open, though. I still feel that Gerard likes to play with wingbacks, with fullbacks especially, and try to bomb them forward, try to attack a lot more. He's an attacking minded manager, so I think that's definitely going to improve. But yeah, defense we'll have to kind of see for a couple of weeks, and then we'll kind of understand what's happening there. Nigel, not sure whether you to use it. I kind of answered that. So, you're saying, okay, you've sent your team, so you have your goalkeeper as Ramsdale, Trent, James, Cancelo, Libramento, Jota, Salah, Buemo, Tony, Antonio, Kane. I think it's a pretty good team. I don't see a question there, but I generally feel it's a pretty good team. Trent, James, Cancelo, the best defenders right now. Ramsdale is decent. This week it's a bit tricky, but overall it's pretty good. Livramento, I would play Livramento, and I am playing Livramento this week, so that's a good move again. Jota, Salah, Buemo, all three decent players. I think Buemo is also, he could also do well this particular week. I think Newcastle's defense is really bad, right? And I know Eddie Howe is coming, so there could be manager bounce, there could be slight changes, but I think he's tested positive for COVID, so he's definitely not going to be on the pitch, guiding the players or talking to the players, giving them motivation, for example. But in general, Eddie Howe is also not a very defensive-minded manager, right? We've seen teams of Eddie doing really well from an attacking sense, and that's why I think likes of Wilson, likes of Saint Max, maybe even a Willock, for example, maybe even a Richie, for example. I think those still could be very good options. But yeah, I think defensively they will struggle, and I think having Buemo is pretty decent. Even Tony, for example, I think both of them are definitely worth playing this particular week. I've seen a lot of people benching the likes of Tony or Buemo for a Rafinha, and I again, Rafinha could really score, and it could come back and bite me. But I still feel, going by the stats, going by what we've seen, going by the fixture as well, I think Buemo and Tony is a really good option. Jota or Gallagher for Saka. Also, should I buy Kane for Vardy for a -4? So, I think if I have to go for one option, I think I will definitely go for Gallagher. If you can, make up the money. Yes, if you can do Jota, for example, I think that's a better upgrade. Gallagher for Saka is a really straightforward pick. But if you can afford Jota, I think that's a lot better. I think he plays for a better attacking unit. He's definitely going to be a regular starter for the coming weeks at least, and during this whole busy festive period. I think there's merit in going for Jota over a Gallagher. Whether you should buy Kane for Vardy, I personally don't think so. I think it's okay to wait for a particular week. For this week, we still need insights, we still need data, we still need information, and we still need eye test, right? I know a lot of people are going Kane, Son, taking hits here and there, and they could still do well because Leeds are still a leaky defense when we talk about Leeds facing these top sides, and I consider Tottenham as a top side. Generally, their defense has improved over the past few weeks, but that's also because of the fixture play, because the kind of fixtures Leeds have been having over the past few weeks, right? Having said that, I still feel Leeds are leaky, but I personally, that could happen, and I'll be really happy for Tottenham and people who bought Kane and Son, fair play to them. But I don't see them scoring 4 or 5 goals in this one, right? It's not going to go crazy. At least what I see happening. So I think I won't take a hit for it, because when you're taking hits, I know a lot of people take hits, but then you also have to recover hit. You also have to make sure that whatever player you're getting in, he outscores your current player and also covers up that 4 points that you've lost, right? And I think more often than not, that doesn't really happen, right? And that's why I'm saying hits generally don't work out. So I think it's okay to wait for a week. It's okay to have an eye test, see more data, understand how Tottenham is playing. Maybe you might not even like Kane after a week. I don't know. Could happen, could not happen. I'm not sure. Maybe Son is a better play. Maybe Son is a better option in a week. So I would probably not take a hit. Nigel, how would you line up your team if you use the wildcard? I think I would definitely have Trent, James, Cancelo, Livramento. Maybe a cheaper defender. Maybe if you don't want to go heavy with your fifth defender, I think you can still go for someone like a Mitchell, for example. I think he's a great differential. I know not a lot of people are talking about Tyrell Mitchell because he's from Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace is not a very, very appealing side, right? But the way Palace have played this year, the way Vieira has turned up things, for Palace, whether it's attack, whether it's defense, I think it's really commendable. They've had tough fixtures, and their attacking stats, their defensive stats have been really good, right? So I think Mitchell could be an option. If you are a Maverick manager, if you like taking a bit of a risk, then someone like a Lamptey, for example, also could be good. He's also a great differential. These are cheaper options. In case if you want to go very cheap, in case if you want to save a lot of money and you are not ready to invest a lot of money for your fifth defender, for example, so you can also go for someone like a Johnson from West Ham. I think who's 3.9 or 4 million. I'm not sure about the price, but he's around that price range, and he's a regular starter right now. I think he could cover off on your bench as well. In midfield, I would definitely have I would have Salah. I would have let's say if I would have Gallagher. I would even have Jota, for example. So these three are pretty much set. Then the other two are a bit tricky, because right now Foden, you might not want to get him. You might want to go for some other players. So then there are options here. You have the likes of Emil Smith Rowe, you have Foden, you also have Buemo. Buemo again, I probably won't suggest on a wild card, but I think there are different options that you can go for. You can even go for Son, for example, in case if you feel that you're not gonna go for Kane. In case if you feel that right now probably you're gonna go for cheaper strikers, then Son is also an option which is possible on your wild card, and it'll really strengthen your midfield, right? Now, let's say if you don't go for Son, then you can go for Kane in attack. You can go for Wang, for example, who's good for a couple of weeks. Then you can also go for somebody like an Antonio if you can afford him, because I still feel Antonio has merit. I think there's a good chance that he can score goals, he can get returns in the upcoming game weeks, and I think it's still a good player to hold, right? So I think there are a lot of plays, a lot of different options to go for. In case if you want to go and check out a draft, I think we've also made a wildcard guide video. And I think that really explains you in detail in terms of which players to go for and what's the reasoning behind it, what's the ultimate guide, and what kind of factors you should consider while going for the wildcard. So I think that'll really help you. That also has a couple of drafts. In fact, it has 4 drafts, alternate drafts with different options. So make sure that you check out that video. I think that'll be really helpful for you. Joseph, you're saying Ronaldo scoring 1 or 2 today. I really hope, yeah. Really frustrated with how United have played so far. I turn up every week. I start talking about United, and I just end up getting frustrated. It's just not been happening for us at all, is it? And it's been really frustrating. I know Watford is a weaker team, but again, anything can happen in this game as well. I'm not at all confident. I really hope Ronaldo scores. On one hand, I'm kind of hoping that he does well, and he makes us get results and then wins matches for us. But at the same time, I'm also thinking, if what if he doesn't perform, right? And what if he's probably not even happy, he's not settled, he's not liking whatever's happening at United, because he's used to winning games, right? He's used to winning titles, and whatever's happening at United right now, it doesn't really look great at all. So him not scoring goals, maybe us not winning matches, could even sack Ole, and that might not be that bad after all, right? So let's see. I'm very, very confused about what's happening with us and what's going to happen in the near future. Foden is fine. I think he's ready to play. I will just check if there's any latest updates there. I don't think so. There's any confirmation in terms of whether he's definitely okay. There was no confirmation in terms of his injury. There was always a doubt whether he's gonna play or not. But yeah, if there's any confirmation, also make sure that you attach a link as well. I think that'll also be really helpful. We can also check the authenticity of the information. Your team is Shen. Your team is Foster, Cancelo, James, Libramento, Son, Salah, Rafinha, Gallagher, Pookie. I like that. Ronaldo, Antonio. But going into game week with a -8, what are you doing, my friend? Why are you taking a -8? Or have you already taken a -8? Then probably it's a different conversation altogether. But yeah, hits like -8, -12s, they, for fun it's okay. If you're just a casual player, or if you're just doing it, if you're just enjoying FPL, or if you're way off, or you're really catching up, or you're really far behind, right? I think in that scenario it's still okay. You can still take these hits, try to cover up ground, but I think in general these kind of hits don't usually work out. We'll take up the next one. Your rank is 2.5 million and I'm not very good. That's okay. Joseph, I think you will still kind of get a hang of it, and if you're playing for fun, it's a really good thing. Yeah, what's the harm in that? There's no harm in enjoying FPL and then not being a serious player, if you know what I mean. Shubham, you have a benching headache, as do we. I think I'm still not convinced about my benching. So you have Schmeichel, Trent, Cancelo, Chilwell, Reguilon, Libramento, Salah, Jota, Gallagher, Kane as captain. I like that. Tony, subs are Jimenez, Rafinha, Sissoko. Should you go with the back five? I think so. Back five, you have Trent, Cancelo. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think I would personally play Libramento over Jimenez and Rafinha both. I think it's not really a bad move. I think Wolves against West Ham. Yeah, West Ham is still a decent team. They're still a decent defense, so might still be okay. But yeah, I think Southampton's playing Norwich. You look at the team. I know Norwich has a new manager, has Dean Smith, so there could be some manager bounce. there could be a better, overall display from Norwich, whether we talk about attack, whether we talk about defense. But I think in general, it's kind of fine to go with Libramento. I know he's at least you won't have that regret that Livermento gave you points and and he was on your bench, which has been the problem with majority of the managers this season. I think it's fine. It's fine to go with Jimenez and Rafinha on the bench and play a back five. It's as I said, going heavy on in terms of your back line this particular season. It's in fact it's rewarded FPL managers who've done that, right. So it's been really good for players or managers who've had a lot of money invested in their defense, have played the likes of Chilwell, James, and these kind of combinations, and they've really done well. So I think no issues there. Stain, you saying is subbing in Kane for Tony stupid? No. So if it's a transfer, if it's who's gonna play or who should play, I think I'd definitely play Kane ahead of Tony. But in case if you're talking about a transfer, I think Kane for Tony is okay. If you're not taking hits or if you're not going massive in terms of changing your entire team, it's absolutely fine. It's not stupid at all. Surya, is it okay to start three forwards? Yeah, absolutely. Why not? You have Ronaldo, you have Antonio, Tony. They're all good options this week. Ronaldo has Watford. He's also a good captaincy option. I know not a lot of people are talking about captaincy and captaining Ronaldo because what the heck? Everybody captains Salah these days, right? But having said that, it's still okay. It's still fine. I think it's a good trio, to be very honest. Antonio, decent option. Tony has decent fixtures. I know he's not done well or he's not done anything, to be very honest. But I still feel he's okay. I think it should be okay. Looking for a differential captain. Who should I captain? Cancelo or Kane? I really like Cancelo, but I think it's stretching a bit too far, isn't it? Having a defender, I know we've got these hauls from the likes of Stones last season, from Cancelo as well, maybe even a Diaz, for example, where they score some 15, 20 odd points and you go crazy with that captaincy shout because nobody, just like absolutely nobody would be captaining a defender and a Cancelo, for example, right? But if you're okay taking a lot of risk, I think Cancelo. I really like Cancelo. I'm a risk taking manager. Generally, I like taking my chances. I like playing the odds. But yeah, slightly saner would be Kane. Yeah, Kane against Leeds could still not be a very high scoring game. I think Leeds are still decent defensively over the past few weeks. And Conte has still not gotten a lot of time with Tottenham. So I think that tuning will kind of take some time to kind of come into play. But I think Saner is safer out of the two. I know they're both differentials, but safer is still Kane. And if you really want to have some fun, take your chances. Cancelo, go for it, man. Like nothing wrong in that. Absolutely. Okay, we'll take up the next one. Kane and Jota in for Wadi and Mount. Mount is looks like Mount is gonna start. I think for a hit, Kane and Jota as a combination, I think it's okay. Kane, you're probably getting ahead of the curve by getting in Kane. I don't think so. Kane has more than 10% ownership right now, and Jota as well. I think Jota's ownership, his price, all of that stuff is gonna shoot through the roof. So I think if you want to take some chances, I think not a bad shout. I think I'm generally not a risk or a hit taking person. I won't say I'm not a risk taking person, but I don't like taking hits. But I think for a Kane and a Jota, I think it's fine. Looks okay. Tonio Wang for the next 4 game weeks. Himanshu. I think for the next three, definitely Wang. I think he plays Norwich and Burnley. Yeah, Liverpool is tricky for sure. You won't play Wang against Liverpool, and even West Ham is not that straightforward, right? So you have two tricky games. I think I still feel Tony could still be the better play because he has Newcastle, Everton, Tottenham, Leeds. Newcastle, Everton, and Leeds specifically, I think, are really good fixtures, and I think he could still be a better option than Wang. His underlying stats are still okay; they're not bad, to be very honest. He's just not, he's a kind of a striker who depends a lot on creative output because he's I think he's really ranked high. I think second or third in terms of big chances created and chances created among strikers, and he's on penalties as well, right? So you're getting a very cheap option who's on penalties. Maybe Wang might not be, right? And I think those two tricky fixtures, I think that really turns and changes my thinking towards Tony for the next 4 weeks. Mount was injured with a tooth. I can't really call it an injury, but yeah, he was out with a tooth problem. But I think now he's fine. I think he should be okay for this week. We'll take up the next one. Do I start Tony or Jimenez or Vardy? I have to pick two. I'll probably start. I don't want to bench Vardy, but Vardy's playing Chelsea. Chelsea have a really good defense, and I know he can still score a goal. I know that can still come back to bite us, and people who are benching Vardy, but I still feel that I'm not comfortable at all benching Vardy, but I still feel I would bench Vardy. I'll play Tony and Jimenez. I think, yeah. Foden seems to be a non-starter. You may have to get in Rafinha. Vardy. Yeah. I know that he might not start, but let's say if he doesn't start, I would really want him to not even be on the bench, because then that gives me the chance to get a Rafinha or a Vardy in my team. I think Rafinha is my first pick, so I think Rafinha should be in, and that should be okay. That should not be a big problem. I think I was anyways torn between playing one of Vardy and Rafinha, and if they come on, it's absolutely fine. Vardy to Kane when I already have Son, I would wait for that. I think there's a lot made out of how Tottenham are doing or will do, or the idea of having a double up with Kane and Son. I know the fixtures are really good. I really think the fixtures are brilliant for a Tottenham team to bounce back, with for a Conte to kind of understand the tactics and deploy those tips and tricks that he kind of does with his teams, and come out on top. But I still feel it's a bit too early for a double up. I think I would just stick with one player, and if you already have Son, I think just go with it. Play Vardy. I don't know if you're playing Vardy this week or not, but have Vardy. Vardy still is okay. Like, his fixtures are not that bad after the Chelsea game, right? He has Watford, Southampton, Villa, Newcastle. So that's a tricky call that you have to take. Whether you go from Vardy to Son, Vardy to Kane, sorry. Whether you go from Vardy to a Ronaldo, for example, because that's also an option. So it's a tricky one, but I think right now, having one Tottenham player, I think it's absolutely fine. Ronaldo worth getting in for the Watford game. Rahul, he's worth getting in for the upcoming game weeks. Again, if you're just getting him for 1 week and you're probably gonna move him out for the next week, and you're gonna get someone like a Kane, for example, then I think you just get Kane straight away. I think for 1 week it doesn't make sense, because then you're also using one more transfer to move him out, right? And rather just get Kane in. Let's say if that's your thought, and play him against Leeds as well. It's not the worst fixture out of the lot. It's in fact a pretty good fixture to play Kane in. In case if you're captaining Ronaldo, maybe then, but I still feel that he's probably not just worth one game. I think if you want to get him in your team, I think you play him for at least the next few weeks. Chelsea could be tricky, but yeah, his fixtures from 16 are really good. So you can also get Kane right now. You can see the next 3 or 4 fixtures. You will get some idea in terms of how Tottenham are playing, whether he's a good option, whether Son is a good option, or which one's the better. And then you can probably jump to Ronaldo from 16 when he faces Norwich, when you have some data as well. I think that probably is the more logical move here. Finn, start Rafinha or Livramento. I think I have started Libramento. I think he will do well. Norwich could be a tricky one. I know not a lot of people highly rate Norwich, but a new manager bounce coming in, things could be a bit different, could be a bit tricky for Southampton. But even from an attacking perspective, right? I think Libramento could still get something from an attacking point of view. So, and Rafinha on the other hand, he's probably the only attacker for Leeds, or only points outlet or attacking outlet for Leeds. And I think Conte would definitely have a plan. I know Romero is probably not there for Tottenham, so that could be a tricky one. And I think that really increases the appeal of Rafinha a little bit. But I still feel Conte, as a tactical manager, he will definitely have a plan to stop Rafinha, because if you stop Rafinha, Leeds have nothing going right now, right? They have absolutely nothing that they're doing if Rafinha is not playing for them or not playing well for them. So I think I would definitely go ahead and take my chances, play Libramento instead. Shen, who should I captain? Ronaldo, Salah, or Son, or even Cancelo? Safer, absolutely safe, is Salah. Of course, he's going to be captain again by maybe his effective ownership is still going to be more than 150%. You might still gain a little bit from the Salah captaincy this particular week, and the Arsenal fixture is not that bad, right? His record against Arsenal is pretty good. I think he has some 7 attacking returns in the last 4 games. So I think that's a pretty good record. And yes, I know that Arsenal is a different side this time around. They're a lot more stronger defensively, but I still feel it's a good, it's a safer option to go for, right? But again, if you are okay taking a bit of a risk, then I think, I would probably prefer Ronaldo over Son. I think Son is still not sure about what to make of Son as a captaincy option. In any case, when you have him, he's probably going to be slightly differential, so I think that's fine. So you can go for Ronaldo if you're okay taking the differential route. But again, I said this earlier as well. If you're okay taking massive risk, if you are falling behind, if you are doing catch up, or if you just want to try your luck and for the heck of it, you want to give it a shot. Cancelo is a very very risky option. I generally don't advise people or tell people to or guide people to kind of do this. But yeah, what's that something that can really go wrong, right? I mean, he can still give you some points, even if it's a clean sheet. It's still some decent points there. So yeah, I still feel safer, definitely Salah, and I'm at least on Salah. I think I don't have those sleepless nights where I've not captained Salah and he's returned like crazy, like he did against Man United. So yeah, that really worries me. Just looking at some of my future transfers, do you think Livramento, Brownhill, and another 4.5 is a viable bench over the Christmas time, while having players such as Chilwell, Foden, Cancelo, James? I think Livramento is definitely, at least looks like he's going to be a good starter, or he's going to be a regular starter, Brian. I think Brownhill is another one who could be decent. Yes, Chilwell, slightly risky. Foden as well. Cancelo, James, there are risky options, and they would be, prone to a bit of rotation. But again, it's hard. You don't get game weeks. Generally, you don't get game weeks where none of your starting 11 are playing, right? And you probably don't have more than 3 players to cover those starting 11. Generally, doesn't happen that. I know there are benching headaches. I know there are players who could be benched as well, right? But I think it's okay. Livramento, Brownhill, and another 4.5 million option. I think it should be okay. Should be okay. You took Son for Wadi, Johan. So I'm not sure what other transfer you've made, but yeah, I think Son for Wadi is okay. Is not bad. If it's not for a hit, even more better, right? Akila, Son or Kane, I've kind of mentioned this. Both are really good options. Both are worth getting in your teams. Whichever is the easier to get without taking a hit, without really disturbing your entire structure, because you would not, of course, they could be decent options. We still don't know if they're going to be really good options. They could be decent FPL options, but at the same time, you should not really disturb your entire structure, your entire team. Whatever's easier to get and probably without taking a hit, I'll probably go with that option. But I personally like Kane a little bit more than Son, considering that he's also on penalties, considering that he could be a captaincy option for alternate weeks where Salah is probably having a tougher game. I still don't think you're probably gonna not captain Salah for most weeks, but I still feel Kane is slightly better. But again, at the end of it, if Son is an easy route in your team, I think go for Son. Kevin, take a -4 to bring in Regulon and bench Rafinha. I think I won't take a hit to bench to get Regulon. I don't think so. I know there could be attacking returns, but I know and there are chances that he can get something from the game. But I think I'll wait for the transfer. I won't take a hit. You want to remove Jimenez? I don't think so. It's the perfect time to remove Jimenez, to be very honest. I think the fixtures for the next 3 are okay. From 15, yes, things look a lot trickier because then they have Liverpool, Man City, Brighton, Chelsea, Watford, Arsenal, Man United. Those are tricky games, right? So you probably want to hold him for a few weeks and take him out at least in game week 15, if not before. Shane, you have a rank of 1.7 million, so yeah, definitely playing casually. Still hoping, yeah, absolutely, man. Like 1.7 million, it's still not bad. Like, I would still say it's still not really, really bad because it's just been 11 weeks so far, right? At least for me, and I've seen for other people as well. Last season, I saw a lot of people who were, in fact, I think till about 7 or 8 game week, I think I was 3.5 million, and that was really, really disheartening. But I ended up finishing 16K, which was a good rank, I think. So yeah, you could easily get in, a decent rank still. And yeah, what's the harm in having a bit of fun, right? Still could be a decent move. You could get a lot of gains in terms of ranks. I think it's fine. Should you bench Livramento or Armstrong? I would bench. Hmm. I think the fixture is of course there for both. I'll probably bench Livramento considering that Armstrong is an attacker from the same team. It's a difficult one. I'll probably still bench Livramento. Yeah, yeah. Akshat, hi and thank you for the question. Will you play Jimenez or Livramento? I think I'll still play Livramento. I think West Ham is defensively they've looked a bit. I can't really say that they've looked very rock solid. Yes, their attacking stats are really good, probably the third best attacking stats, but defensively also they've looked okay. Jimenez, Livramento, I think I'll still play Livramento. I think against Norwich, yes, new manager and all of that is gonna happen, but I still feel Livramento could be a decent option this week, even from when you look at his attacking potential. Flash, what do you think about Watkins? I still, I'm okay with Watkins to be honest. Not really a huge fan at the moment. I know he's not really done anything so far. Villa have been struggling with a new manager. I think I'm still interested to see how Gerard is gonna play. You know, what is he gonna do with the likes of Ings and Watkins together? Because I think that will be really helpful in understanding which options to go for, right? Because Gerard generally likes to play with an inside forward and or maybe inverted winger as well. So we could, and I'm not very sure whether both positions suit Watkins. I think Ings and Watkins up top together could be a better play, but till the time I don't see what's happening with him, where is his position gonna be, how is Ings gonna come into the picture when he plays, how is he gonna play, and what happens with him. I think yeah, for now I think I'll probably avoid. I'll probably see for a couple of weeks, and based on that I'll probably take a call. In terms of fixtures, I'm not sure. I've not seen Villa's fixtures. I think they're okay. They're not that great as well. Man City, Leicester, Liverpool, 14, 15, 16. That's tricky. Brighton, Crystal Palace, 12, 13. Also a bit tricky. I think the run from Game Week 17 onwards looks a lot better from even till 28. I think they only have Chelsea and United as tricky games. I think it's a wait and watch for me for sure. But yeah, one to definitely keep an eye on. Play Christensen for Rafinha or not? I won't play. I think I'll still play Rafinha, Abhishek. Yeah, I'll play the attackers. Not even sure Christensen gonna start, and Leicester again could score against. I've seen a lot of people in their predictions, talking about Leicester scoring a goal. I know Tielemans is not there. I don't have Vardy for that reason in my 11, but I still feel I'll play Rafinha being the attacker. Himanshu, Edison, you've shared your team. Edison Foster, okay. Trent, Cancelo, Rudiger, Emerson Royal, Regulon, Salah Smithrow, Son, Cornet, Gallagher, Tony, Wilson, Davis. I think couple of changes for sure. I can right off the bat. I probably won't have Edison. I know why you have Edison in your team because he's probably the most nailed option in that Man City defense, in the Man City team as well. Don't think Edison and Cancelo. I think that's a lot of money. I think you can easily go for someone like a Guaita, for example. If you don't want to go for Ramsdale, if you feel that everybody has Ramsdale and you don't want to go for him, I think going for Guaita is also a good option. Palace has really good defensive numbers. Their tough fixtures are now over. Now they have an easy run of fixtures, and I think Guaita could give you a lot of save points. He could also give you bonus points as well, considering how Palace play, right? In terms of his distribution, I think there's a good chance that he also is in bonus points. So I think Guaita or Ramsdale, I think those are the two options that you should definitely go for. Not have Edison in your team for sure. Trent, Cancelo, I really like. Foster as an option, I really like. Rudiger is also somebody I probably won't have. I'll probably have James right now because he looks like the most. I can't say that he's the most nailed Chelsea defender right now. I still feel there could be some rotation considering the amount of games that are coming up. But when you can afford, maybe when you have Rudiger, you probably would want to spend that little extra money and get James, who could really give you a lot of attacking upside, right? The other thing is that I won't have Emerson and Regulon both right now. I'll probably just have one. I think going for two defenders, first of all, going for three options for Tottenham might not be the best play out there. And out of those three options, two defenders is definitely not something that I would look at. I would probably have Reguilon right now. Again, it's a very tricky call to make between the two. Not really much to choose from right now. So I'll probably go for the safer option as Reguilon, but I won't have both. I'll probably save some money here. If I'm not going for Guaita, I can go for a Mitchell, for example, or I can, go for Libramento as well. I think Libramento probably not the best time to buy now because he's also expensive. So you probably can go for a Mitchell. You can even go for a cheaper defender, who just gives you 90 minutes. That's all. Salah, Smithrow, Son, Cornet, Gallagher, I like. Cornet, again, Burnley have been doing okay, and Cornet specifically has been doing decent, but I still feel the fixtures are not there. The fixtures are not that great for Cornet. I know he's a great he's a great differential, sorry, but in general, I think, yeah, I probably won't go Cornet right now. Palace, Tottenham, Wolves, Newcastle, West Ham. Yeah, I'll probably have somebody else. I'll probably have. So you already have a Smith Rowe. Again, I'll probably, because you already have a Son as well, Smith Rowe as well. I'll probably just keep him and play him right now. But yeah, I'll probably monitor that. Tony Wilson Davis is okay. I think, yeah, I think it should be okay. I'm assuming Davis you won't be playing, so you'll be playing with Tony and Wilson. Wilson in the next 4 weeks is okay, but after that it gets a bit tricky. So that is something to again monitor. And you don't have a lot of options going cheaper as well, right? So you probably can downgrade a Cornet to a cheaper midfielder, and then you can upgrade a Wilson or maybe a Tony to an Antonio as well. I don't think so. It's the worst move ever. Like, I think it should be okay. Finn, you're asking for help. We will definitely do that. Should I do Rafinha to Jota? If it's a free transfer, I'll do that. If it's a hit, I won't do it. You have no Spurs players and can do that move for free. Yeah, I think it should be okay. Rafinha to Jota for free is a good move. Raghav, which 4.5 Spurs defender to buy? Um, I'll probably not. If I have to buy one, then it's a different thing. But I'll probably not buy a 4.5 option. I think Dyer could still be okay. I'm still not sure whether Davis is gonna. I think Davis is gonna feature or not. Romero looks like he's out. Of course, he's a lot more expensive. So you have options like Dyer. You have options like Sanchez, Tanganga. I still feel Dyer is probably the most nailed in that centre back spot. I still feel it's a weakness for Spurs, and I'll probably try to get that point 0.4, 0.5, and then go for somebody like an Emerson. Emerson Royal 4.9 could still be a very decent option. So I'll try to find money to take that, get that 0.4 and then probably get Royale. But if I really have to go for a 4.5 option, I think Dyer is still a decent option to go for. Yes, he doesn't really give you a lot of attacking threat, but none of the centre backs of Tottenham would probably be doing that, right? But having said that, Conte generally does well in terms of clean sheets. His teams are really tight at the back. You would generally want to have a wing back in the Conte system, but if you can't afford it, then probably having Dyer is still okay. Brandon, how to send your team for review? You can either send on Twitter or you can also, send it on the chat as well. I think Charles, should I play with ESR? Again, depends on what other options you have. ESR in isolation is probably not the best option to go for this particular week. I think there are better options in midfield to go for. So yeah, if you really have to play ESR, then it's a different thing. But if you have better options, I'll probably play them ahead of. So for example, I'll probably play a Rafinha ahead of ESR, for example, right? Or I'll play a Buemo, for example, ahead of ESR if you have that option with you. Akshay, you have Armstrong, Tony, Buemo, and Libramento. You have to bench one. Whom should I? So Armstrong, I would definitely play Tony. I would definitely play. I think I'll probably bench. I don't want to say this, but I will probably bench Libramento. I think Tony Buemo against Newcastle could still be okay. Armstrong against Norwich in attack could still be decent. I think I'll probably bench Libramento. You have an option to do Kovacic to Son or Jimenez to Kane. I think I'll probably do Kovacic to Son right now. Not sure of his attacking potential. I know he's given points, but that seems like more of an anomaly right now. He is not a player who will give you consistent returns. That is absolutely sure, right? And Jimenez is someone who still has decent fixtures. At least for the next 3 games, you can target Jimenez. So you probably get Son in, have a better player, and also have Jimenez who could give you at least 2 to 3 decent games. Then probably from 15, I think you move him out. Mohammed, I'm sorry, I'm not reading your full name, so apologies for that. Captain CR7, who's a rotation risk, or Salah, Arsenal's our defense. Fair point. I still feel Ronaldo starts this one. We need a win. We need a win badly. And Salah against Arsenal is our defense. His record against Arsenal is pretty good. Safer is still Salah. I think if you're worried about effective ownership, if you're worried that you might lose out on ranks, if you're really high in terms of ranks, and if you don't want to take a risk, then probably Salah. But in case if you're catching up, if you are getting hold of points, or if you are falling behind and you want to do something different, then probably CR7 is the one to go for. Otherwise, I'll just play it safe and go for Salah. Abhishek, Christensen or Johnson from West Ham, confused as Soufal is back. Uh, I'll still have Johnson because it's less money invested in your team. Christensen, when he's benched, is gonna hurt a little more. Yes, I know Soufal's back, but I still think Johnson has done really well for West Ham. There have been a lot of praises for him from David Moyes himself, so I think he could still play in spite of having Soufal back. But I'll probably avoid both. But yeah, if I have to go for one, I'll probably just save some money and go for Johnson instead. Fred, my thoughts on Vardy. I think Vardy's still a good option to go for. This week, it's a bit tricky. Chelsea has a good defense, really good defensive stats. I think that Chelsea could get a clean sheet from this one. Having said that, Vardy again can score, in tougher games. We've seen that he does really well against these top teams, right? But not Tielemans not being there, the defense being too open, that really worries me a lot because Tielemans has been that engine that has been creating a lot or creating the majority for Leicester this season. I think not having him is going to be a huge miss. So I think only from that perspective, this week doesn't look that great. Having said that, I still feel Vardy it's okay to hold him, to be very honest. I know not a lot of people are considering holding Vardy, but I think the fixtures are pretty good. Watford, Southampton, Villa, Newcastle, I think they're really good fixtures. And you can hold him. It's there is no need to go for a Kane, right? I know a lot of people are going. It's also a lot of FOMO, right? It's you're basically thinking that you might miss out on points, you might miss out on people buying him and getting those points, and the ownership is also getting high, so you might lose ranks as well if you don't have a Kane or a Son, for example. But I still feel Vardy is a decent option to go for. Is Bowen Fornals a good asset? I think Johan, a really good question, and I think it's a really good pick as well. I really like their fixtures. I think from game week 16, if I'm not wrong. I think the next couple are a bit tricky. Man City, Brighton, Chelsea are a bit tricky, but I think from game week 16, I think he's a really good option. So in case if you have the likes of Buemo till by that time, if you have someone like a Rafinha as well by that time, for example, or move from a Gallagher. Let's say he's not performing, he's not doing that great. So from 16, I think he's a really good option. Both are really good options, to be very honest. But I think for now, I think I'll probably just, let's say if you have Antonio, might just well stick with it. Or if you don't have a West Ham attacker, I think that's also fine for now. 16, I think one of them should definitely be in your team. Akila, Rice is better, but not from an FPL point of view. Of course, he's a good player and he's been really good for West Ham. But from an FPL point, I think Johan meant it from an FPL point of view, and from that perspective, I think, yeah, I think Bowen and Fornals are better options. Avinash, Wadi to Trent for a -4, or roll the transfer and get Trent for next week for Havertz. I think I'll probably roll it and take the chance for next week. I think, yeah, I won't take a hit. I know it's Trent at the end of the day, and he's still a very good player. He's playing Arsenal, who's not going to be that easy. The team is in decent form. Defensively, Arsenal have been really good. Having said that, Arsenal can still concede against Liverpool. So yeah, I'll probably not take a hit for Trent. Yeah. Start Regulon or Rafinha. I'm assuming it's an or there, Kevin. Start Regulon or Rafinha. I'll probably start Regulon. I know he's a defender, but he's a wing back playing for a Conte team and playing against Leeds. I think he could be a better option than Rafinha. take up the next one. Playing a 5-3-2 this week. I know I've seen a lot of teams playing a 5-2-3, a 5-3-2, and I know a lot of people think it's crazy. Why the heck are you playing with five defenders? But it's absolutely fine. I think going big at the back this season looks like the way to go till now, at least. And let's say if you have someone like a James and Chilwell as a double up, you have Trent and Cancelo, you maybe have a Livramento or you have a Tottenham defender, for example. I think there is decent merit in playing those wing backs because this season has been the season for wing backs, right? You're getting a lot of points from these wing backs, and if you don't have them, I think you will be struggling a lot. Plus, you don't have a lot of options in attack, especially among forwards. I know Kane has been into the conversation now for this particular week, and I think he will be for the next few weeks. But Tony, Antonio, other options as well. They're not really firing all cylinders. So I think playing a 5-3-2 is still not a bad option. I'm assuming one of the three in your midfield will be Salah, and the others might be a Son or Foden, maybe a Gallagher, right? So I think if you have these options, I still feel it's a good structure to kind of go for. But you've shared your team. Ramsdale, James, Cancelo as your vice captain, Chilwell, Libramento, Salah captain, Rafinha, Buemo, Jimenez, Antonio is okay. Bench is Vardy, Saka, Douglas, Luiz. No transfers, can do one. I don't think so. You need a transfer, to be very honest. I think you don't. Again, generally we don't have to make transfers for the sake of making transfers, right? I think sometimes it's just okay to sit back, get more data, get more insights, and understand what's happening, and then probably make a wiser move the next week, right? You don't have to make a transfer. And that's why I tell a lot of people, because everyone's like, what should I do this week, or should I make a transfer this particular week? And it's fine not to take it. I know it's boring. It doesn't sound fun at all. But I think this team doesn't really require a transfer. I think if you can do maybe I don't know how much money you have, Varun, but if you can do a Rafinha to a Jota, maybe that's still okay, without again taking a hit. Yeah, or maybe I would probably want to replace Saka, maybe with ESR, maybe with even a Gallagher, for example. But if you're not playing them this week, I think it's fine. I think the team is pretty decent, to be very honest. Rafinha to Jota is something that I can probably look at in case if you have the funds. In case if you don't have them, then probably just save your transfer. Shan taking a risk, but I've made a yeah. I think Ronaldo captain. Yes, I know it's a big risk because the effective ownership of Salah is gonna be very huge. It's gonna be massive. So if let's assume or let's hope for your sake that Salah doesn't do well, because if he does, then you're really losing a lot of points. But yeah, I think CR7 captain. I think the next best alternative to Salah is Ronaldo. I think he has a good fixture. United needs a win. We are struggling so badly. Can't even begin there. But yeah, I think Ronaldo captain is good. I like the move. Imanshu, Edison, Foster, Trent, Cancelo, Rudiger, Emerson, Royal, Regulon, Salah, Smith-Rowe, Son, Cornet. Yeah, I think I've already done that. Yeah, we've spoken about the team. So, just rewind the video a little bit, and I think you'll have an idea there. Thoughts on Emerson Royal as a contest system prefers wingbacks? Johan, I think, yeah, I really like Emerson Royal. Not sure which one to go for right now, whether it's Emerson or whether it's, Regulon right now. But Conte's system really prefers or really encourages wingbacks to, attack a lot more. They're not defenders, to be very honest. They become attackers because he's also played the likes of Victor Moses as a wingback, right? Who was a winger, who was a proper winger in the old days. So the system really works well for Conte. I think it will work well for Tottenham as well. I think Emerson Royal could be a really good differential. I still feel a lot of people would be going for the safer, a much more known commodity in Regulon, because he's also played this system or this role in Spain as well, right? So he has some idea. Yes, he's not a great finisher, to be very honest. He generally fluffs chances, and he did that in the last game as well, when Kane really delivered a great ball and he could have scored. I think he could have scored a couple at least, one for sure, and he missed that chance, right? Emerson is a lot more. I would say he's a lot more settled on the ball. He's a lot more calmer on the ball, and for that reason, I think Emerson Royal plus the differential factor, of course, could be a massive option. Matthew, should I start Saka or Lamptey? I really like Lamptey, to be very honest. Brighton have Villa, who are still a decent attacking side, but Saka has Liverpool, so I think I'll still go for Lamptey. I think not very sure in terms of the clean sheet potential there, but in general, I think Lamptey could also give you some attacking threat, right? And for that reason, I think Lamptey and plus Lamptey is not going to be there in majority teams, right? I think he's a super differential. I'm not sure what his ownership is, but I think it's going to be really good. Yeah, 0.7% ownership, that's massive. Even if he returns maybe a clean sheet, you never know, right? It's going to really help your rank. It's going to really help your team. So I think I would definitely play Lamptey. Great, guys. So I think we have about 15 minutes to go before the deadline. In case if you have any more questions, please feel free to add them as well. We will see if we have any news about the Leicester and Chelsea lineups. In case if we have anything that has come out as leaks on Twitter, we'll just quickly check that. But please make sure that you know add in your comments, add in your questions. Not sure whether we've got any late news in terms of, yeah, I don't see anything on Twitter at least. Should I start Mings? I'll probably won't start Mings. Yeah, against Brighton. Brighton have looked really good in attack. Their numbers are really impressive. I think they could still play a system where Trossard plays as a false nine and probably, Mope comes from the bench because they've not been playing Mope. And I think Trossard has really done well in that false nine role. So, yeah, he could be a decent option. But I still won't play Mings. I think Brighton can still score in this game. Yeah. And Mings doesn't really give you a lot of attacking threat, doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence in terms of clean sheets as well, because Villa have been struggling a lot. I know Gerard, the whole factor of Gerard is going to be there, but whether it's really going to improve the defense in 1 week, I'm not really sure there. Matthew, he plays right wing. I know. So yeah, he could be a decent option. Saka, I know when you can talk about Saka, he's an attacker, and he's probably playing a lot further forward. Lamptey's probably playing the wing back role, or maybe a winger role as well. But I still feel Lamptey is the one to go for. I'm a sucker for differentials, and I really like going for differential picks. I think Lamptey could be a very good option. Whom to start? Foden, Mount, Livramento, Buemo, any two. I'll definitely start Foden, and I'll probably start Buemo. I want to start. I want to start all four. I know it's not possible, but I think I'll definitely take my chances on Foden, and I'll probably also play Buemo and bench Mount and Livramento. Why not playing Rafinha today, Aryan? Yeah, Rafinha against Tottenham when Conte is at the helm, in charge. I personally feel he's going to have a plan for Rafinha, because if he shuts Rafinha down, I think he shuts the entire Leeds team. I think there's not a lot of outlet right now in terms of Leeds attack. Bamford is also not there. So I think there's a good chance that Rafinha blanks in this particular week. And for that reason, I have him on my bench, but I still have him as my first option. In case if Foden doesn't come or doesn't play at all, then Rafinha comes in. I also don't think, personally, I don't think Vardy is going to score. He might just score, and we might just regret another benching week where we had 30 points on the bench. But that's just how it's going to be. I think I'm pretty convinced that Rafinha and Vardy, blank this particular week, and I think I have better options in terms of my playing 11 that I can play. So I'll probably take that chance. Arvind, you are saying that you have Chilwell and James. Should I play both or bench one of them and play Reguilon instead? Tough one, to be very honest. I think I'll still. I don't want to bench Chilwell and James because they're attacking at the other end. Reguilon is also attacking. I'm not sure. This is a tricky one. Yeah, I think I'll still play Chilwell and James both. I know it's a bit risky because if you lose one, if Leicester score, then you are losing a lot of points. So in case if you want to play a little safer, maybe then probably have Reguilon. But again, you can't even say that Reguilon is safer because yes, his ownership is decent. He can still score or he can score. He can even provide an assist. He can also get a clean sheet, considering that Tottenham could be tight at the back. But I'll still probably play Chilwell and James. Yeah, but nothing, not too much to choose between all three this particular week. Who to bench, Gallagher or Buemo? I will probably bench Buemo. It's also one of those tricky ones, right, where you want to play both, but if you really have to bench one, I heard some news and some information about MacArthur getting injured and Milivojevic kind of coming back. And what we've seen so far in this season is whenever Milivojevic plays, he's most of the times he's on set pieces, and in general, I think Gallagher's inputs and his attacking threat reduces. Now Eze is also could feature this particular week as well, and that slightly weakens the possibility of Gallagher having more minutes. Having said that, I still don't feel Gallagher's suddenly going to be benched, so I'll probably just play Gallagher ahead of Buemo. If you have Tony in your playing 11, I definitely will play Gallagher. What should I do with Sanchez? I have Foster on the bench. Play Foster this week. I don't think so. You need to sell Sanchez for a -4. Not at all. No. And if you're doing that, I don't know why would you do that. But if you're doing that, I would still not get David De Gea. United's defense right now is in tatters. I still won't go there. Absolutely not. Plus, I won't take a -4 for a keeper. It's just not a good idea. Gallagher or Buemo were the early ones that you wanted to bench, Varun, and now you're saying, or bench Rafinha and play. I think I like this. I like this a lot more. I would probably play Gallagher and Buemo and bench Rafinha. Yeah. Looks a lot better. I still feel Rafinha could have a tricky game. Great, guys. We have 10 odd minutes now. Please feel free to ask anything, suggest anything at all that you want to speak about, talk about. Please feel free to add those in the comments as well. We'll quickly check our team and the state of our team. Everything is set. We have saved the right captains. We have saved the right transfers. Rafinha is our first bench priority, which is absolutely fine. The rest looks okay. Do make sure that you save your teams, guys. Please do that. Just cross check it once. I think really important not to get caught out at the last moment. Score predictions for this week. If you're saying FPL score, I'm not sure at all. But in terms of matches, I think I think Chelsea is definitely going to win this particular week. I still feel Leicester could score, but it's a tricky one. I think probably Chelsea is going to edge that out by a couple of goals. Villa Brighton could score. I think Villa doesn't really have that greater defense, but it could be like a 1-1, maybe even a 2-1 for Brighton. I really feel that Brighton has a really good team. Burnley Palace is going to be interesting because I think that's a little tricky because on one hand you have Burnley who has Cornet who have been doing okay defensively. They've struggled, but Palace has been doing really well. So I think Palace could still win this one by maybe a 2-1 or maybe even a 2-0. Newcastle Brentford, I'm expecting Brentford to score, but again Newcastle will still score. I think this is going to be another draw, maybe a 1-1. Norwich Southampton is interesting because I think Norwich is weak, and I think Southampton, considering how attacking their defenders are and how well Armstrong and Broja can play together if they play together, maybe even Adams coming in, right? I think that could another be a 2-1. United probably would be a 2-0 to Manchester United. I don't think so. Watford, I'm scared, but I still feel Watford probably won't score. West Ham Wolves, maybe. Yeah, West Ham definitely scores a couple in this one. Maybe Wolves also score. So I think, again, a 2-1 to West Ham. Liverpool Arsenal is going to be interesting, but I still feel Liverpool's probably going to score a couple of goals. Having said that, Arsenal could still score one. I think probably 2-1 to Arsenal. Man City Everton could be a 2-0. I don't think so. It's going to be a very high scoring games because a lot of Man City players are injured. There are doubts. And that's just what we know, right? What's happening behind the scenes, absolutely no idea. Spurs Leeds, personally, I don't think so. It's going to be a riot. I don't think so. It's going to be a huge scoring game. I probably a 1-0 or maybe a 2-0 to Spurs. I still feel Leeds don't score in this game. Playing cash is safe. I'm not sure whether it's safe, but yeah, I think Cash is okay. Not really a huge fan right now. I still want to see what happens with him. and how he develops into the Villa system, into the Gerard system. But I still feel, yeah, it's okay. Won't really call it safe, but it's fine. Gallagher or Jota can pick only one. I will pick Jota, for example. In this one, I definitely will pick Jota. I think he's a better option than Gallagher. Transfer in Jota for Rafinha or Kane for Vardy next week. Mm, Again, depends on what your priority is, right? If you have, for example, if let's say if you have a Son, then of course you get in Jota. In general, also I think I'll probably prioritize Jota over Kane. I still am not sure what happens with Tottenham and how do they play. Maybe if they really run riot and Kane scores a hat trick, maybe then Kane to Vardy, Vardy to Kane could be that move. But I think I would still go for a Jota to Rafinha if you can do that. I personally can't, so I'll probably not go there, and I'll probably get Kane ahead. But if I had the money, I'll probably would have done Jota to Rafinha to Jota this week itself. Thoughts on Norgard? I think again from an FPL perspective, I think he's a decent option. But yeah, I'll probably look elsewhere. I think there are better picks to go for. Let's just see what other options are there. To be very honest, yeah, I at 5 million, I think, yeah, I'd probably just save that money and then get a 4.5 million, midfielder, and probably invest that elsewhere, or I'll probably try to increase that to a Buemo, or maybe some other options. But yeah, I'll for a defend for a player who's gonna be on your bench, I think it's better to probably have a 4.5 million player rather than Norgard. Transfer Sanchez and James for Ramsdale and James. Transfer Sanchez and James for Ramsdale and James and take a minus. I won't take a hit to transfer out Sanchez and get Ramsdale. No, I won't take a hit. Depends on who your other keeper is, right? If you have a keeper who's non-playing, if you have a couple of more players who are injury doubts, then maybe. But I no, I still won't take a hit for a keeper. Your thoughts on Yesa this week, Aaron? He's done very well for Arsenal. I think he's been really good. He can play in a couple of positions. He's very attacking. I think this is his season. I think he's going to be Arsenal's at least one of the best players, if not the best player for Arsenal. But this game week, it's a bit trickier. It's against Liverpool. Liverpool in defense have struggled. I still think that they've not been that great defensively. They can still concede, but I if I don't have any other options or my other options are really bad, right? I'll probably not. I'll probably play him instead of those options. But in general, if I have a slightly better option, I'll probably play them ahead of ESR. I don't think so. He's probably going to get anything from this week. ASM and Jota or Wilson and Zaha. I think I like Jota. Saint Max is probably again. I would have preferred Wilson, but I would definitely would prefer Jota ahead of Zaha, and I think Saint Max and Jota looks a lot better. Foden and Pinnock out for Jota and James, and should it be Foden out or Havertz? I'll definitely not transfer out Foden. I think I can hold Foden, for the coming weeks. I think it's still a knock. It's not going to be very long term, and I think it's okay to have Foden in your team. Havertz as well for this week. I'm not 100% sure because Lukaku is not back. He's definitely not going to play this game. So I think Havertz for another week could still be okay. But if I have to take out somebody, I'll probably take out Havertz, and I won't take out Foden, for example, and get Jota, and definitely not for a hit. Yeah, guys, a couple of more minutes. Please feel free to add something else, add anything that you want to in the comments, in the chat. So in general, I think a lot of questions, a lot of comments about. Of course, captaincy is a lot more straightforward. You captain Salah if you want to go safe. If you're lagging behind, if you're playing catch up, if you want to take a bit of a risk, then Ronaldo, if you have him in your team, looks really good. Otherwise, Kane is a really good option to go for. Cancelo, I won't really advise a lot of people, but again, for the heck of it, if you just want to have some fun, then Cancelo is a good option. Definitely don't want to take hits for Jota, Kane, Son, all these players. In case if you're making a move where you're getting a Kane and a Jota in one, with one hit, still might be okay. But in general, I think I would not take a hit for any of these players. I would probably even play Libramento ahead of players like Rafinha, maybe even Avadi, for example. I have Semedo on my bench, which I don't really trust a lot. So I'll definitely play Livramento. If it's between a Southampton attacker or a defender, I'll probably play a Southampton attacker. Whether it's Broja or Armstrong, I think those are really good options. And in general, I think I if I can roll a transfer, if I can get some more information for let's say if you don't really know what to do, absolutely don't do anything. You don't have to make a transfer every week. You can probably just save it. You can have some more data. You can have some more insights, get some additional information, and then make a more logical move next week. I know there's a lot of FOMO around the Spurs assets, but not having them this week is absolutely fine. It's not the end of the world. It's a long season. You're not really going to lose a lot of things because of one particular week, and I think it still could be okay. So yeah, those were, I think, the highlights of the pointers that you should probably keep in mind. If you have Foden, you definitely play Foden. I don't think so. He's probably not worth getting in this week, but he's also not worth transferring out. Again, if you're doing it for Son, who also could be a long-term option, still decent. But I still won't be taking out Foden. I still feel that over the Christmas period, over the next 10 odd games, he's still a really good option to go for, and he's worth holding. Who will be a better asset, Shan? You're asking Broja or Armstrong in the upcoming weeks? I think it's going to be very close between them. Broja is a better finisher. Armstrong has better movement. Armstrong is also has a deadly foot and a good shot as well in him, as we saw in the last week. In general, I think I feel that Broja is probably going to do a little better, but I still feel the minutes would be shared between these two. And I think because of that, you know, it's a very close one to make. I'll probably just save that money, and I'll probably, if I'm planning to get one, I think I'll get Broja. But from an FPL perspective, from a footballing perspective, I think it's going to be very, very close. I still feel Broja is probably going to outscore, Armstrong and get more goals. So I think, from that perspective, I think Broja is a slightly better asset. Plus, he's cheaper as well, right? So you don't really leave a lot of money on the bench as well. Let's say if that player is not playing, let's say if Armstrong and Broja are getting shared minutes, so they're probably not starting for Southampton. I still feel you're not leaving a lot of money on the bench. So I think Broja would be a slightly better pick. Great. I think that'll be all for the deadline at least. I really hope I was able to answer your questions, help you guys make the right calls. Even if you've not got a Tottenham, I know there's FOMO, and I've kind of spoken about it. I'm not really worried about not having a Tottenham player this particular week. I think it's still okay. Yes, I have an additional transfer to make next week, so let's say if Kane really has good underlying stats, if he's doing really well, maybe even Son has doing really well this particular week, I'll see what to do there. But I think one of them could come in next week. I think for this particular week, the team looks pretty good. Not a lot to change, and I'm glad that I've stuck and there's a lot of conversation because see at the end of the day, of course I can talk to you guys, and anyone else can also talk to you. You might be also following other experts, maybe not experts. You might be following your friends, maybe a lot of noise on Twitter, and there'll always be narratives be building around any kind of players, whether it's forwards, midfielders, whether it's team specific, or whether it's anything else, right? But at the end of the day, you should still own your decisions, own your moves. You should not really think that yes, everybody is doing that, I'll also do that, because that's probably the right thing to do. That might be the worst decision ever, and it might be just hype building up all of that transfer. But just make sure that you read as much as you can, you see as much as you can, and at the end of it you still make your own moves. I think that's really, really important, because I know a lot of content creators, a lot of people who are trying to help on Twitter, who have these threads and who are I won't call them experts. Maybe they're experts. I don't know, but they try to advise in terms of which players to go for. At the end of the day, football is still a funny game, and sometimes a lot of weird things happen, right? And we cannot predict what's going to happen. Of course, we can analyze, we can assume, but I think those decisions should definitely be yours. Shan, thank you so much. Thank you for loving the content, and thank you for your support as well. I know you're a regular member on the stream, and I really, really appreciate your support. Brian made your moves at 10:55. Quite happy with it though. Buemo and Vardy to Jota, and yeah, I think it's a really good move there. Wilson, really good differential. Jota also probably starting slightly ahead of the curve. You are, and I think I really, really hope that both of them do really well for you, and you're probably going to remember these moves for some time at least. Nigel, Foster, if you share a team, Foster, Trent, White, Libramento, Jota, Salah, Sar, Buemo, Tony Ronaldo, Antonio, Sub, Sanchez, Anson, plus wildcard for Gaming 13. So I'm assuming you didn't use the wildcard for this particular week. It's fine. I think Gaming 13 also could be okay. The fixtures to target there, I think, would be Arsenal's game for sure. I think having one Arsenal midfielder could still be okay. Still not the end of the world. I think Liverpool still have a decent game. Spurs could be pretty good. I think if you're jumping onto a wild card for game week 13, for example, I think having a Spurs defender could still be decent. I think having one of Reguilon or Emerson Royal could be really good for game week 13. I think that's a move that you can easily make, and I think that'll also keep you ahead of the curve, right? Because just can't go for the same odd players that everyone's going for, because then how will you gain rank, right? How will you move ahead in FPL? How will you, of course, we're all trying to win FPL at the end of the day, and we will love to win the game. But how will you beat other managers? So I think that'll really help you go ahead, get ahead of the curve, and I think that could be another great move. Lamptey, as Amit just mentioned, I think that could also be a really good option, and not a lot of people would go for him because he's slightly injury prone. Not slightly, I think he's been injured for a very long time, and he's come back from injury. Yes, I think he could be a regular feature in the Brighton side. Yes, he's very attacking. Yes, there's a lot of potential in Lamptey as a football player, as an FPL pick, but I think the Christmas period is a bit tricky because there will be a lot of games, so there could be rotation. He might still get injured again. You never know what could happen. But I think if you want to go a bit differential, if you want to save a bit of money, and if you're not going for a double up in Chilwell, for example, let's say you don't trust the Tottenham defense just yet, right? You can still go for a Lamptey, and I think it's still a pretty good call. Rudiger is benched in today's match. Is that a confirmed? Have you got confirmed lineups? I'm not really sure. Let's just see. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's a confirmed thing. Have the lineups come out yet? Probably they have. Yeah, if it's let me know where you've got that news. I still can't see. There are rumors of benching, but I'm still not sure if it's out yet. But we'll see. Again, Rudiger. If you have Rudiger, probably it's the right time to move on from Rudiger. I think having a James or even a Chilwell is probably better. Even if you have Aspi, for example, I think that also is a decent transfer to make, because I still feel, again, you might not be surprised if next week one of James and Chilwell is benched, because now benchings will happen. There will be a certain rest given to players who have been playing a lot of football. There's Champions League as well this particular week, so that could also be that could also be one major play for these top teams. And in general, I feel there's a lot more upside with the likes of James and Chilwell now. Varun, thank you so much for joining. I think always a pleasure to have you on the stream. And thank you so much. That I really, really, really love that you're enjoying the content, and I hope that you continue to do that in the future as well. SAR starts. That could be interesting. I still feel SAR is still not an option. I know that there will be benchings. There'll be a couple of weeks where you won't get the regulars playing for Chelsea, but yeah, let's see. Yeah, I know, Shubham. I know. I probably should have used my bench boost last week, and I'm so mad that we've gotten the topic of bench boost, because I think last week I had 30 points on my bench, and imagine 30 points. I probably could have gotten into the top 1K, or maybe the top 10K for sure, right? It was just crazy. There's a guy called FPL Focal. If you've not followed him, make sure that you give him a like, give him a follow as well. I think he's doing very good. He's a content creator. He's been playing FPL for a very long time, and he did bench boost, and I think he's number 2 in the world right now. And I think he got about 100, maybe 90 or 100 points, something like that. It was pretty crazy. I know a lot of people did bench boost last week, and they got these massive numbers because most of the bench boosts last game week, I think they were at least 15 to 20 points, if not more, and that's a massive number. Because what happens generally, we try to bench boost during double game weeks. At least I have not seen that happens at all, or that kind of comes off at all in these double game weeks. We always make these plans of getting those double game week players, getting those players who have the best fixtures, and it just doesn't happen, does it? And you end up playing the bench boost. I think last year my bench boost was what, 4 points, 4 or 5 points. Might not even be 4 points. I'm not sure. It was very very less. It was a pretty bad game. You could use it in Game Week 13 as well. Yeah, I could do. I could do. I have two transfers as well, and I'm planning to move a Semedo to a Regulon as well. So I think I still could bench boost next week because I would have Vardy. Let's say even if I'm playing, not playing him, Tony against Everton could still be okay. Antonio against Man City is not ideal, but yeah, he can score against Man City. He did that last season, so he can score against Man City, and that could be really 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 cool. I know a lot of people would lose clean sheets, and especially the ones who have double ups, but who cares? Like, we want our attacking players to score and our players to to return in terms of attack. Or just you have Captain Kane and you're a bit scared. I would be. Let's see. I'm would the uh, would the effective ownership numbers come out just yet? We'll see. Guys, in case if you've not checked out this page, by the way, for all of you who are there, who are still with us, I think you can check out a lot of cool stuff from livefpl.net. So if you've not been doing that, make sure that you go to the website, do it on the web. I think that's a lot better. You can add your team id. You can and team ids are something that you generally get. Again, if you log in through the web on your in your fpl account, and you check your team and you go to my team, you'll get an id and you can enter this id, and you can put it in the livefpl.net website. And I think that really allows you to check your score during the week. It allows you to also plan your transfers. You can do a lot of stuff. I think it's a really cool platform. It's a free platform, so make sure that you check that out as well. I think it's absolutely free, and it's really cool to. It's cool, and it's also frustrating at to see your rank, your points week on week, because I also keep checking my rank and my points after every game, and if I'm getting a big, there are instances you won't believe. I think my best rank this week was this particular year has been, I think, around 5k, 5.9. I'm not sure what the exact rank was, but probably somewhere around that. And that particular game week, I had a red arrow which got me to about 40k or 45k at one point of time. It was so frustrating that that my rank has dropped down so much. But at the end of it, I think I was really happy. So it's a bit damaging to you as well, because a couple of games and then your head can go spinning, and you're like, oh my god, what is happening to my rank and what is happening to my team? It's another bad week. But yeah, generally a lot of people say that don't check your rank before the game week ends, but it's fine. It's until as we're enjoying the game and we're not really stressing about it too much, I think it's fine. Of course, playing it seriously is absolutely fine as well. There's nothing wrong in taking the game seriously. I know a lot of people say that it's just a game at the end of the day, but it's about connecting with people. It's about being on one community and competing with each other. Of course, it's competition at the end of the day, and who doesn't like a competition? But yeah, I think it's a really cool platform. So in case if you've not checked it out, make sure that you do. Allows you to do really some cool stuff. So yeah, what else? What else is happening? Very very excited to see what Tottenham's gonna do. I think a lot of people are looking forward to how Conte is gonna do this particular week. This is a huge eye test for a lot of managers who don't have Son and Kane yet, and are looking to get them, one of them at least, for the next few weeks, or for the easier fixture at least one, if not two. And then I think it's gonna be really interesting. I know it's the last game. I think it's the last game of the week, and you'll probably have to wait till Sunday to kind of see that. But in general, I think really excited about that. Liverpool Arsenal is going to be a really cracking game. I think I'm not sure who's a Liverpool supporter here, and if you are, please make sure that you get to speak in the chat, in the comments. I think it's still going to be a good game. Really excited to see Jota as well, how he features and how much he can, whether he's going to get 90 minutes, whether he's going to get an early sub. Not really sure there. I think it's going to be really interesting. Salah captain again. Safer. I know that a lot of you would say that it's boring at the same time, but again, at that ownership, it's just too scary. Like I know people losing faith in FPL in that one game week where he battered Man United and Man United. Like imagine it's just been super crazy and not going for Salah takes a lot of courage and I don't think I have that just yet. I know it's crazy, but yeah. What do you think of Gerard Villa? What again? What I've not again. I won't lie. I've not really followed Gerard's managerial career in its entirety. But whatever I've read over the past few weeks, over the last 3-4 days at least, I think he's a really good attacking manager. I think he's a front foot manager. He likes to play, attacking football. He won't sit back and defend deep. He won't have a negative mind space and a negative mindset even in the tougher games. I know defensively they might improve, but I'm still not sure what to expect of them in terms of defense. But when we talk about players like Bailey, players like Bundia, maybe even Watkins, for example, Ings, I think we pretty much know what's he gonna do because he cannot play in a number of positions. I think he's good at what he does, and I think it's fine for Villa because they still need a good striker, right? But I think what Gerard does with players like Bundia and Bailey, I think that's going to be really really crucial because they are definitely missing Grealish. I know they have signed a couple of players, injuries, things not going well for Dean Smith, a lot of things happening in the background as well. So I still feel, the fullbacks also could be really interesting. I think having the likes of Cash and Target are really good players, right? They're very good attacking defenders. Cash especially has been very impressive. Defensively, I'm still not very sure in terms of. I still feel that Villa would struggle defensively, but when we talk about the attacking output from players like Cash and Target, not even sure how. I think Cash is around 5 million, maybe around that much. Yeah, he's 5.1 and Target is 4.7. So both could be good options going forward. And I think, they at least from an attacking perspective, they could still do well. Still not sure about the clean sheet perspective. I think I'll probably have to see a couple of more games and we'll get some more idea in terms of how he's setting up teams, how he's approaching games, right? Of course, we are expecting him to be very attack minded, but it could be slightly different. It's a different league as well, right? You have any opposition can beat any team at the moment. So yeah, you never know. What are your thoughts on Rafinha though? I still feel I personally feel I think Rafinha is probably a sell in the coming weeks. If not, if you've not sold him, at least even if he stays for a couple of weeks, I think it's fine. But in general, from game week 16, it's really tricky, right? They have City, they have Chelsea, they have Arsenal, Liverpool. I think those are the four toughest fixtures anyone can get on a trot, and I think that's gonna be a definite time to sell Rafinha for most of the FPL managers. I think his ownership is still pretty high; it's about 20%, and I think a lot of them could be dead teams as well. But I still feel Rafinha could be on the chopping blocks for a lot of managers in the coming weeks. So yeah, we'll see. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think what happens with Leeds. They had a great season last time around, but this season I think they've struggled with a lot of injuries. I think the players also are fatigued. You can't really play that kind of a game, season on season. It takes a toll on players. I think that's kind of happening at Leeds right now, and I think not having Bamford is really hitting them hard. So that is something that we should definitely monitor. I think with Bamford coming in and probably a ton of fixtures coming in, Leeds could still be an option at least from an attacking perspective. When I see the fixtures, I think from game week 20 to about 32, they have decent run. They only have West Ham and United as tough games. Maybe even Tottenham could be a tricky team by them. But I think in general, Leeds are a team who could still do okay in terms of attack. Again, can't really trust their defense, but still decent. Then we have Antonio as well. West Ham attackers defensively, West Ham have not been providing us anything this year. but Antonio is still a good hold. I know a lot of people have sold Antonio, and it's absolutely fine. I think they've been a bit lucky as well because he's not returned. I think he's only scored one goal in the last 4 or 5 games, something like that. But in general, I think Antonio, the way he's playing and the way West Ham are playing, right? West Ham have been really surprising and have caught a few by surprise this season because, yes, they still look like a good team who could still be a top 6 team, but the way they've been playing today or this season, I think they're easily a top 4 team right now, at least in current form. I think David Moyes has really turned around the team. They have a very good system, they have a very fixed setup. I think everybody knows the roles in which they're playing. I think you don't really expect West Ham to crumble a lot under pressure as well. And I think the Liverpool game was really really good, right? Like not a lot of people would have expected them to bounce back and win that game, and I think that was a huge game. So yeah, there are chances that you could get someone like a Bowen, you could get someone like a Fornals, for example. I think for Bowen would definitely be the higher scorer, or would have scored more points than Fornals. Yeah, it's pretty close. Bowen is 55, Fornals has 51. Bowen is point 0.4 expensive. Both are very low in ownership, just around 2 to 3%. So there could be still these very good options going forward, probably from game week 16. When they face Burnley, then they have Arsenal, and then there's a really good run of fixtures. So that time is pretty good for getting a West Ham attacker. I think you would want to have a West Ham attacker. Let's say if you have Antonio till that time. If you don't, probably you should target Antonio as priority. If you already have Antonio, then probably even doubling up on the West Ham, attack could be a really good option, and it could also, get you ahead of the curve because I'm pretty sure still not a lot of people would be going for that second West Ham attacker. I know a lot of people have Benrahma in their teams. They could still hold him, play him by that time. Not sure, but Benrahma's numbers have kind of come down. So I think that could be a very big reason of not having him or not owning him and going for somebody else. Ojas is struggling in midfield. I have Buemo, Rafinha, and I want to get rid of them. Yeah, I also have both. It's not easy to be very honest, right? If you see my team, I think I have point 0.5 remaining in the bank. Not very ideal to be honest because I cannot do Rafinha to Jota. No way I can do that at all. It's way far. I cannot do Buemo to maybe I don't like I'm not very very sure about Cornet just yet. Yes, he's been doing well from an FPL perspective, but the fixtures are a bit tricky. So I don't even have enough money for doing a Buemo to a Cornet, for example. So that's also not an option. Then I think I can't even go from a Vardy to a Kane directly. I think I'll have to make another move in midfield. I think that's where I start struggling because I have Gallagher, I have Buemo, I have two of the best 3 or 4 options right now. The other options probably would be Smith Rowe. I think Smith Rowe would be ahead of Saka for sure. And then there's not a lot that I can choose from in that budget category. Of course, I can also go for Son, for example. I can downgrade Vardy to a cheaper attacker, and I can probably upgrade one of Buemo or Rafinha for Son. I think that could also be a move. But yeah, I think in general the template would definitely shift in the coming weeks. I think the template would definitely have Salah, Son, Gallagher, maybe even Foden in the coming weeks if he's fine. If he's not, I don't think so. He's injured long term, anyways. But I think that could also be the upcoming template or so, right? So yeah, so I think difficult to choose cheaper options, and I think more than two is a bit too much. I feel if you have two options, that's any of the two, I think it's still okay. You should definitely have one of Foden, Son. Jota is also there, so you have these options which are slightly more expensive. But again, then you have to make sacrifices in your team elsewhere. You probably have to go for a cheaper forward. You probably will have to sacrifice an expensive defender and save value there, because I've seen a lot of people downgrading a Diaz, for example, to a Mitchell, to a 4 million defender, and then using that money to upgrade your midfielder. So that could be the play now. Yeah, that's the issue. The problem that'll be the problem, Shan. That they will lose value as well when the cheaper midfielders start blanking. I think they will lose value. A lot of people will be going towards these expensive or slightly more money, slightly more priced midfielders. Jota and of course Jota and somebody like a Mount, for example. Of course, Mount is probably not a part of the conversation, but these kind of that budget is still mid range. It's still not very premium. But yeah, a lot of people would be going towards them. These players would be losing value. Those expensive midfielders would be, increasing in price. So that transfer is going to become a lot more difficult. So that's why a lot of people are making those moves early, right? Because of course, one, it gives you chance to take charge of your transfer. You're not really dependent on price rises, price falls, and you're not really anticipating a lot of things there. Plus, you're also getting ahead of the curve, which is really important to gain ranks, because once you've done moves when everybody's done that or everybody's doing that, then probably not going to gain a lot, right? So getting ahead of the game is also one thing which not a lot of people think about, because it's really important. If you want to do well at FPL, you have to think a little ahead. You have to think at least 3-4 moves down the line in terms of what you're going to do. It cannot be week on week, or it cannot be, of course, be for 10-12 weeks, because we don't know what's going to happen in 10 weeks, right? But yeah, I think it's going to get trickier as we progress, because now I think we're getting more data, we're getting more insights. I think we're getting more idea in terms of which kind of teams to go for, what kind of players to go for. The template is also shifting. Right now it's still a little heavy on the back, but it might not be. It might not be. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. It'll be tricky, but it'll be very interesting. Gaming zone, your team is Sa, Rudiger, Cancelo, Trent, Duffy, Salah as captain, Buemo, Havertz as vice captain, Rafinha, Wadi, and Antonio. Can I rate it from 1 to 10? I think I'd still rate this team. It's still a pretty decent team. I'll probably won't. Rafinha is probably the only one that I'll probably want to remove in the coming weeks. Rest is pretty good. I'll still probably give it an 8. It's a pretty solid team, to be very honest. There are chances that you can improve. Of course, you can probably get a Gallagher, for example, uh, and you probably can even change Rafinha and get somebody else. But yeah, I think there are options that you can go for, and there are definite moves that you can make to improve the team. Shan, I don't know if it's a compliment or not, but yeah, I one thing for sure, I can't abuse him. I can't abuse like him at all. Like, even if I try, I can't do that. Again, not saying it's wrong or right. A lot of people are fans of Carrie Minati. I've worked with him, by the way, on a couple of in my professional space. I've collaborated with him for a couple of videos. Not, of course, not FPL related, not gaming related, but it was my professional work that I got in touch with him and I spoke to him. He's a nice chap. Akshat, is there a possibility that in the future game weeks people might shift to a 4-5-1 or a 5-4-1 due to lack of attacking options in the forward spot? I think one thing you've definitely nailed on is that there are not a lot of attacking options right now. And when I say attacking options, I generally mean striker spots and forward positions, because yes, you have a template kind of building up, you have a narrative building up where people are probably looking at a premium striker in their teams right now. I think the move going forward could be one premium striker and two cheaper options to also accommodate decent priced or mid budget midfielders in the team. So if you look at it from that perspective, you can of course bench those cheaper options in the trickier games, and you can easily go for a 4-5-1 or maybe even a 5-4-1. I still feel there's merit in playing a double up or two strikers. Again, totally depends on what games and what strikers you're choosing. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think a 4-5-1 is I think a lot more realistic. I know right now a 5 looks a lot better, maybe because some people have double ups, on the City defense. Some people have double ups on the Chelsea defense, which has been doing really good. Livramento is also there now. The Tottenham fullbacks, the wingbacks are also coming into conversation. So a 5-4-1 is also not out of the picture, where you probably have a Kane up front, or you have a cheaper option up front, and then you invest heavy in terms of your midfield and defense. I think that could still be an option. But generally, I think how the fixtures are kind of panning out, I think at least from a forward perspective, I think one forward would definitely be a premium option. It could be Kane for a decent run of fixtures. It could be even Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo has really good games. I think still United is a bit tricky to kind of predict right now what they're going to do because I still don't understand what's happening with them. I don't know what's going to happen week on week, and it's just getting very frustrated being a United fan, to be very honest. But yeah, it could be a possibility. 4-5-1, 5-4-1. Both formations are good. You have a lot of good options in defense as well. You have these fullbacks who can really. I think a lot of people don't think FPL in this perspective, right? These fullbacks, let's say someone like a James, for example, when you compare him to a 6 million Buemo is of course not 6 million, but you get the point, right? You compare him to a cheaper midfielder. I think James definitely outscores someone like a Buemo if if you see the next few games as well, right? And when you think about that, there's definitely merit in going a bit heavy in defense because you have all these options who have been doing really well, right? So I think could be a decent move, could be getting you ahead of the curve as well if you go for somebody like a Kane and he's doing well, and only him as a forward and two bench options, for example. I'm playing Rafinha over Semedo and Sar. I think yeah, I'll definitely play him over Semedo. I don't want to say that for any player, but I don't like Semedo. It's been a I think that's the only regret that I have. I have a couple of regrets already. It's been only 11 weeks, but in general I think I don't have huge regrets in terms of how the season has panned out. But Semedo is definitely one of the. I'm just stuck with him, right? Like more often than not, more weeks than not, I have something or I have an issue with the team. I have some injuries that I have to sort out. I have, other players that I have to move out, move in, and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I've never just been able to get him out of the team, and I playing Rafinha over Semedo definitely decent. Sar could still have a decent game because United's defense has looked really bad, right? And yeah, I think it's still a good decision. I think Rafinha could. It's not 100% sure in terms of his returns, but yeah, if I had to compare all these three options, I think Rafinha is still okay. Would I sack Ole now? I would have sacked him a long back if I had the pass, if I had the ability. I just don't, and it's being a United fan it's just been frustrating. It's the Liverpool game was a bit too much, and then I think that day India Pakistan was also happening, and I was at a friend's place watching the game, and I was of course watching football. I'm a huge cricket fan as well, but football comes slightly above. But yeah, it was happening all simultaneously. India was playing so bad. It was such a frustrating day. It was just too much. After the couple of goals, I was like, this is gonna be a long night, and oh my god, after like in the second half, I still felt that Liverpool had probably eased off a little bit. They could have scored a lot more, and it would have just been humiliating. And I probably felt that that was it for Ole, but it's still not been. I don't know what's really going to take. I've heard rumors. I've heard conversations about the likes of Brendan Rodgers being into contact. Rodgers is of course not admitted to anything which he would never do, but there are rumors, there are murmurs that that conversations happening. United board has agreed to sack Sole if they find a suitable replacement. The only possible replacement that I see right now is I'm not really sure Zidane's going to come to Premier League. I know there were rumors again. I'm not sure whether they are official. Nothing is official in these matters, to be very honest. But I think there were conversations that Zidane would be okay and open to getting the job in case if he's offered a contract and if he's offered the job. So that could be an option. But again, Brendan Rodgers, I don't rate him very highly as a manager. I know that he's done really well with Leicester. I don't. I know that he's done well with Liverpool as well at his time of when he was a Liverpool manager. And in general, I think he's had a good coaching career. But I just don't feel that he's looking at. I still feel there's somebody else that we should probably target. And if I really had an option, I of course Conte was a huge miss. I think Conte would have been a great option to go for. But I always tell people that it was us who lost the match, or who lost the game that day. It was not Tottenham, because Tottenham getting Conte is massive, right? I think I think Conte even wanted to come to United. I'm not sure how true or how accurate is that, but I still feel there was it could have been a different story if Conte would have if he would have come there, right? But yeah, that's the issue, right? You don't have a lot of options right now. You don't have a lot of managers who would be, of course, a lot of managers would be willing to come to United, but we'll have to break their contract. not a lot of options, not a lot of free options are available for us. So I think that there are issues there, and that's I think that's why probably the board is also a little hesitant in terms of letting Ole go, because they don't really have a plan right now in terms of who to replace Ole with, and I think that's what's hurting us. And it's just been like that. He was a manager who probably would have been or should have been replaced at least a season back, if not maybe this season, the start of this season, because yes, he was there to get a job done. Yes, he was there for a reason. He was there to win the fans back, win the board back, but he was never a long-term solution. And I think we should have looked at stuff a lot before than what we are doing right now, and probably even not right now, right? So yeah. Do I follow Mark Goldbridge? I do. I do. Whenever I get the time, I generally try to get a lot of stuff done during the day, whether it's work, whether it's YouTube, whether it's anything, right? But yeah, I watch his content. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's entertaining as well. It's insightful as well at a point of time. But yeah, there are a lot of good channels and a lot of good United podcasts if you want to follow, and I can definitely share those with you as well. Uh, but yeah, I try to get in some insights, some knowledge, some idea about what's happening in the football, because it really allows you to also think in different perspectives, right? And that's really helpful when you are talking about football. So yeah. Great. Guys, a couple of more comments. In case if you have anything to say, make sure that you add that in the comments in the chat. We will definitely be going. The match is also going to start in some time, and I think it's going to be a good game. Yeah, really excited about the week. I think in general it's been a couple of weeks since football was off. Of course, international break was there, but I think really really happy. I think it's going to be a really good for 30-40 days, that amount of time, because there's so many games coming up, and this time of the year is generally also very festive, and in general I think it's also a very good time. So I think I hope all of you also enjoy the football, also have a good time with your friends, with your family, and you generally enjoy the game. Great, guys. Cool. We'll call it off now. I think we'll end the stream here. Thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure having all of you. People who have uh, joined us today. I think it was really good, and thank you so much for that. We'll also check the lineup for. I think I lost the video there. I hope I was audible that time. Yeah, I think. Yeah, Mendy, Chalobah, Silva, Rudiger, James, Kante, Jorginho, Chilwell, Mount, Havertz, Hudson-Odoi. I think it's still a decent team. Havertz is starting. Of course, Werner is not there. Lukaku was not fit for this. I generally don't think Alonso is going to start. Maybe he starts a couple of games during the international break, but I think generally he's not going to start. But yeah, great. So I think Rudiger again. There were some rumors about Rudiger getting benched. I don't think so that's happened. So pretty much about the same as we had kind of expected. No huge surprises there. Christensen again is benched, so I anyways was not really expecting Christensen to be a regular feature in any capacity. But Werner could come on from the bench. Werner could even start the next few games, and that could be really interesting. Great. Thank you so much, guys. I think we'll call it here, and thank you so much for joining. I really hope you have a great week. You have a great week of football as well. Enjoy all the games. Enjoy the content that we've been providing. Subscribe to the channel, guys, if you've not done that. Hit the like button. Hit this like button on the stream as well. It'll really help us in the YouTube algorithm, and we'll be able to reach out to more people like you and help more people like you, and that's always a good thing to do. Great. I'll see you in Saners next time. Have a great week, and looking forward to the next week and the content coming up. Bye bye.